Hey everybody, Coach Toolshed here, and in today's video I'm going to be bringing you my review for Death Stranding. And as with all my reviews here at Coach Toolshed Gaming, you can rest assured that I have taken the time to finish the game. I know it's a novel concept, but you get that sort of service here. Let's just jump right into the review. So what is the basic premise of Death Stranding? Well, basically you play as a gruff white male protagonist who rides his motorcycle across the barren post-apocalyptic landscape of America, trying to connect various outposts by delivering them much needed supplies and food as they attempt to survive. You see, all the survivors in this world after this apocalyptic event are holed up in various settlements and outposts throughout the world, and you play as one of the few people who's willing to go out there and deliver these much needed supplies to these various outposts because you're one of the few that are willing to do it. There's a few others like you out there, but not many, and it's up to you to reconnect everyone and to help rebuild society. Wait, is this Days Gone? I thought we were doing a Death Stranding review. I was told it was unique and unlike anything we've ever seen. That sounds like the premise for Days Gone. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. So, one thing I gotta say is the music is absolutely fantastic. Somehow, Kojima got Tom York to do the music for this game, and it is just fantastic. As you come across the ridges, wait, what? That's not Tom York? Low Roar? Who's that? Thought it was Tom York. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Let's forget all that. Let's move on to the basic gameplay structure. Like, what do you actually do? Well, we know this is an open world game, so let's look at some different open world things that you do in this game, because it's totally unique and amazing. What you do is, the main goal of the game is you have to work your way across the map and unlock various outposts throughout the world that'll be marked on your map. And what you'll do is you'll do missions for NPCs at those outposts, and once you complete those missions, they'll be available to you. You'll unlock the outpost, and then you'll have access to... Wait, is this a Ubisoft game? This can't be right. I was told this was a unique game, like nothing we've ever seen before. That sounds like every Ubisoft. Let me look at my notes. Oh, this is the unique thing right here. So in this game, you have asynchronous online capability, and what you can do, you can leave messages and notes for other people as you go throughout the world, and they can leave you likes, and that way you'll know that you're helping people, and you can leave emails for people. You can even go and leave stuff in their world that will help them along their journey. It's really interesting. Wait, is this Dark Souls? That game's like 10 years old. I thought this is getting weird. I thought Death Stranding was completely unique and like nothing I've ever seen before. Let's see. What's another thing? Oh, this I got. You can build things with the help of other people, and you can use their structures, and you can build off of what they got. You can improve their structures. You can make it stronger. Wait, aren't there a couple of massive, very popular games that do that already? I feel like there's some other multiplayer games where you can build stuff with other people, and they can... that can't be right. There can't be any other games where you do stuff like that, where you build stuff with other people? No. Let's keep going. Okay, so let's talk about the walking. The walking is incredible. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. You have to try the entire time to keep your balance, or you'll fall over. Wait, is this Human Fall Flat? That indie game came out a few years ago? No. Wait. As I keep reading all this stuff, it almost seems like Death Stranding isn't that unique, and it's almost just an amalgamation of a bunch of other ideas that other people had. But I thought Kojima was a stone-cold genius. Let's move on. There's got to be something that sets it apart. I know, it must be that Death Stranding has solved all the issues that people have had with open-world games over the years, and it excelled in the stuff that people complain about the most and criticize the most about open-world games, right? You know, we had a couple other big games earlier this year that got widely criticized for having stuff like bland open worlds and repetitive missions. Surely this game doesn't do that, right? Oh, that's right. There's hundreds of missions to do, and there's only two different types of missions. You have fetch quests and what people are calling delivery quests, but are in reality the second half of a fetch quest. Because what do you do in a fetch quest? You obtain the thing that you need and then you deliver it. And that's what you do in every mission in this game. You go to one of these outposts, you access the terminal, you are handed a package by a hologram, and then you leave and you bring it to the next point. Sometimes you have to go out and retrieve a package, but that's kind of rare. Most of the missions you don't even have to do that. And the problem is that when you have a game that has literally hundreds of different orders for you to fill, and there's only 2 different types of missions, I'm sorry, that's unacceptable, and every other game would get widely criticized for that. But for some reason, it's amazing and unique here. For some reason, I'm having trouble explaining that one. Let's see. There must be a lot of exploration in the game, though, right? It's not just going to be a barren open world with a few copy-paste buildings spread throughout, right? It has to be, unique and engaging and all sorts of different stuff to explore, right? Oh, no, it kind of falls flat in that regard, too. I mean, there's only like 3 building types in the whole game, and you can't even really explore the buildings. You just have access to a terminal in the main doorway of the building, so that can't be right. The exploration's bad. I mean, where's this game standing out? It must be in the incredible AI, right? The enemies you fight out in the world, they must be amazing and difficult and challenging to deal with, because Kojima has made stealth games in the past, so the stealth and all that, it must be fantastic, right? He wouldn't have made a game where the enemies pose 0 threat to you at any given time, right? Oh, that's right. You can take over an entire camp of human enemies with your bare hands. Even if they have weapons, it's really not difficult. But surely the stealth, the ghostly enemies that you can't see without the help of your BB, that must be... Oh, you can kind of just crouch walk around them, huh? And even if they sense you, you can still kind of just walk away, spamming the square button. Now, the AI is pretty bad. It's the combat, right? But the focus of this game isn't about combat, so that can't be it. And the gunplay is pretty bad when they give you guns, even though they give you guns in a game where they simultaneously, for story reasons, tell you not to use guns. So strange. There must be something else. I know what it is. I got it. It's the amazing writing. Surely, that's got to be what it is. Kojima's an auteur, after all. So it has to be the writing. There has to be some objectively great things about the story and the writing, right? Okay, at this point, I'm going to break the character of the video. I think you probably understand what I was getting at earlier. But when it comes to the writing, specifically, I want to discuss. I'm not going to get bogged down in sort of the weird Kojima stuff that's in the story itself. What I want to discuss is basic writing fundamentals that this game just throws out the window, and yet people are running around hyping up the story as if it is just the most masterpiece piece of writing that we've ever seen in our entire lives. Now, there's certain aspects of writing, such as the use of foreshadowing and the use of dialogue and exposition, that in this game are done so incredibly sloppily, and for some reason it's just being completely washed right out the window. No one seems to care about it. Let's talk about how the first several hours of the game, every single character that addresses your character, Sam, talks at him like he has never spent a day in this world before. Even though, in the same breath, they'll acknowledge that they know who he is. He's actually is kind of infamous in this world. He's well known. People know what he is, what he does, and who he is. And yet, every character for the first 2 chapters of the game just talks to him like he has never once stepped foot outside, that he has no concept of the dangers or the mechanics of the world. And I understand the purpose of this is to inform the player, but I have never seen a more sloppily put together opening few hours as they try to explain stuff to the main character. It is so horribly done, it's not even funny. But I guess, because it's Kojima, we just have to accept that he's just going to talk at us for hours on end while the main character just going to go, huh? Really? Huh? Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the real problem with the writing, and that is the unbelievably heavy-handed use of foreshadowing. If you know what foreshadowing is, the purpose of it is to sort of tease the audience, lead them along. Maybe you subvert their expectations along the way, but it's supposed to tease and hint at future things that happen. What it's not supposed to do is jackhammer you in to every scene that's going to happen later on in the game and show you flashback after flashback of the flashback, which spells out exactly what happens in the game's most dramatic ending scene. By the end of the game, I knew every single thing that was going to happen because I had seen it hours before. Not talking about intuition or me trying to think ahead of I wonder what the mystery is here. He literally shows you everything that's going to happen earlier in the game, to the point where I was quoting dialogue on the last scene along with the characters because I already knew what they were going to say and what they were going to do. The foreshadowing in this game is done at the most amateurish level I have ever seen. This, for people who are like, oh, he should make movies, and he's saying he wants to make movies. Writing like this would get laughed out of Hollywood. I'm sorry. I know there's lots of people in the gaming community that are desperate for gaming to get the recognition it deserves with different storylines, and there are games that do have great storylines and that are emotional and impactful. This is just sloppy, let alone the dialogue. That is just so... Some of the lines in this are so laughable, but I mean, I understand it's just campy lines here and there. I'm not even going to complain about the ridiculousness of some of the lines that the characters have. I'm just pointing out some fundamental writing aspects. And the exposition dumps at the beginning and end of the game. At one point, this is kind of a spoiler, but at one point at the end of the game, you are sitting in one place while another character just walks around you in a circle and tells you the same information that you had already been shown hours ago. And this is stuff that has been repeated by all the characters again and again. And you're just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there as this character just talks at you. And it's just so horribly done. It's like he just had one big rough draft and never trimmed anything out. There's times in the game where I had an NPC contact me via a hologram transmission and give me information. Sam, there's something you need to know. Blah, 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 blah. And I watched like a minute-long hologram cutscene. Directly after that, seconds after that, the same NPC contacted me on my cufflinks and told me the exact same information that he had just said. Another point of the game, one NPC, through dialogue and cutscenes and codec transmissions, told me the same information about herself 5 times in an hour. The game stopped so this person could tell me the same information. Sam, there's something I think you need to know. It's so sloppy. It's like everything in the game went into the facial capture and the cutscenes, because that's the one part of the game that actually is great. The facial capture technology used in this game is probably the best I've ever seen. But aside from that, it's like no effort at all went into editing or cutting down this story. It repeats itself 1,000 times. And if I sound like I'm repeating myself now, I'm paying homage to Kojima. And I also have to say, I've seen a ton of people saying, I don't really know what it is about this game, but I'm just really addicted to playing. I just love the gameplay loop. I will explain to you why you're addicted to it. It should be obvious, but apparently it's not, because I think it's obvious because the game just smacks you right in the face with it. We are conditioned in this day and age to react positively to getting likes from other people on social media. It makes us feel better about ourselves. It gives us a dopamine hit. So when you build stuff for other people, or when you use stuff in cooperation with other people, it naturally is giving you an addictive dopamine hit. It's specifically designed. It's the same way that Facebook and Twitter and YouTube are designed, to make you feel better about your opinion, make you feel better about yourself, to give you that social, you did something good, thumbs up, thumbs up. They even tie the thumbs up into the story. At one point, it gets so ridiculous. I'm like, why does this one character keep giving me this ridiculous thumbs up? Like, what's going on here? It's all designed to give you that same social anxiety and the same social feedback loop. Oh, I hope people like what I put down. Oh, I hope people like this. Oh, people will like this. Oh, I'm getting feedback. I'm so happy. It's just like any other form of social media. And we don't like it when other companies manipulate us, when other platforms try to manipulate us in that way. But for some reason, people seem to be totally ignoring you. And like I said, this game slaps you directly in the face with it. They're right there. Like, leave a thumbs up, smash. It's literally smash that like button, the game. That's what? Like, come on. Now notice I've gone this whole time without talking about the really weird aspects of the story. Because I'm going to let him have that. Let the guy write whatever weird stuff he wants. If he wants to write about tar whales flying through the sky and spitting gold crystal dust at you, let him do it. I'm not even going to bother critiquing that. I'm not going to bother critiquing the feces grenades or any of that. Throughout this video, I'm just trying to break down fundamental stuff that would get heavily criticized in any other game. Let's go back to earlier in the year when Days Gone came out. And every review site was like, bland protagonist, do we really need another white male protagonist? All you do is deliver stuff to other people, there's a bland open world, repetitive quest, blah, 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 blah. And yet, Death Stranding turns all that up to 11 with the repetitiveness and even bleaker and more bland open world, worse motorcycle physics, all of it, and yet one game gets trashed with the review scores, and one game is getting praised like it's Game of the Year. And it's just hilarious to me. Now, there's certain things that Death Stranding does that stand out. Mads Mikkelsen's character is really good, and it's a great performance. But on the flip side of that, I see Norman Reedus getting all this praise, and Norman Reedus' character in this game is just bad. You might as well have just gotten a silent protagonist for the amount of actual voice lines he has, and then his biggest voice lines come at the end of the game, and if you don't know one of the lines that happens at the end of the game, it's one of the most laughable and most meme-worthy scenes I've ever seen in a video game. I don't even want to spoil. I saw a review earlier that spoiled it, and it was hilarious, but if you just look up Mario and Princess Peach, okay? Look up that scene and just watch all of it and tell me that that's something that you can get emotional about and act like, oh, what a beautiful ending. People were saying they cried at the end of this game. I do not understand it. And I'm not someone who's so stone-hearted that I can't cry at a game. I have cried at games this year. Earlier this year, I played Brother: A Tale of Two Sons for the first time, and I was crying like a little baby. And that game has no dialogue or dramatic cutscenes to speak of. It's just the genius. That's actual genius narration and design in that game, believe it or not. I can recognize it when it's actually good. I can get emotional at games. I can get sad and feel. In this game, in Death Stranding, I was just rolling my eyes for the entire final half of the game, because the challenge of the game is actually trying to sit through the game. And I know some people are getting all up in arms and go, oh, you're just impatient. You're just impatient. You just want everything handed to you. Go. I've had many people tell me, go back and play your first-person shooters. Blah, blah, blah. You guys here on this channel know I play a bunch of different games. I'm not like that. I'm not an impatient player. I have, some of you might not know, I'm a trophy/achievement collector as well, depending on where I'm playing the game. And I have well over 50 platinum trophies. And if you know anything about collecting those, you have to be okay with doing tedious stuff and being patient. I recently got the platinum trophy for Code Vein, and one of those trophies requires you to complete 300 boss fights with co-op partners online. 300 just to get one trophy. So don't tell me that I'm not willing to give a game a chance, or that I lack patience or all that. And the other funny thing is that people will tell you that you're too stupid to understand the concepts that the game's trying to get across. There's only one concept the game's trying to get across, and that is reconnecting people, breaking down the divisions and reconnecting everyone. And just it's basically, you can be summed up with united we stand, divided we fall. And since the game is based in America, that's actually as apt as you can get it. Pink Floyd nailed it, 30, 40 years ago. And I know there's a lot of people who are saying, well, the minute-to-minute gameplay is so engaging because you have to balance everything. You have to walk. Well, I hate to break it to you, but once you get about 15 hours into the game and you have vehicles at your disposal and roads, and once you get ziplines involved, and you can have skeletons that you attach where you basically don't fall over ever, all of that minute-to-minute engagement is totally gone. And all you're doing is zipping across the map at lightning speed. By the end of the game, you can literally just sprint everywhere that's open. You just put on this skeleton onto your legs, strap on whatever cargo you need. If you need to tow a little cart behind you, you have a floating cargo rack that you can tote behind you. You can load up a truck, load up a bike. Like I said, there's zip lines you can fly around. You saw me putting them down earlier in the video. Once you get all that stuff down, once you have the zip lines down in an area, there's absolutely no challenge in the game. You walk out the door, zip, zip, zip. Oh, I'm at the spot. Now I'm going to zip back, zip, zip, zip. There's nothing to it. It's so unbelievably mundane. And this sort of thing, again, would not be accepted in any other game. Like I said earlier, there's hundreds of missions to do if you want to. And they are all identical. And people who are like, oh, there's a lot of variety. You're building stuff. You can't build stuff wherever you want. You can't build roads out wherever you want. The game shows you can only build here. And you don't even design any of it. You just literally drop off more supplies to a terminal and the road builds itself. The only thing in the game that actually feels like you're trying to design something yourself is if you're putting zip lines through different mountain passes that you're trying to get through later in the game. That's about it. Once you get to the point where there's zip lines, you might as well, honestly, if you're enjoying the game at that point, I'd say just keep playing it on a loop. Don't even bother pushing through the story because the story is just, it's ridiculous. The big reveals at the end, like I said, there's no big reveals. Kojima spells everything out. And in case you missed it, he's going to tell you exactly what he meant 5,000 times from every character. They're going to smash you in the face with exposition. I'm sorry. There was a sweet spot. I made a video last week about the basic gameplay loop and why people were connecting with the base building aspect that I found in the game and that sort of rewarding loop. That was in Chapter 3, Chapter 4, about 20-ish hours into the game when I made that video. And I see a lot of people that are loving the game, that are in those chapters. They're like, oh, I'm loving it. I'm in Chapter 4. Honestly, if you like the game at that spot, just stay there. You're in the sweet spot of the game. Even for me, it was clicking a little bit at that point. I was like, oh, this ain't so bad. But after finishing the game, after putting dozens more hours into it and seeing what else the game had to offer, and just the fact that it never really... I see people say, oh, it really opens up. No, it really doesn't. The gameplay that's being shown by everyone, that's it. People are acting like there's... Oh, wait till you get past Chapter 3, man. The game just gets crazy. There's a couple cool boss fight sequences, although the fights themselves are terrible. There's some cool-looking BT enemies that attack you, except once you realize that they pose no actual threat and you can just run right past them, those cease to be there's no suspense there or anything. The more I played this game, the less I grew to like it. And it's not a question of me being too impatient or too unintelligent to understand what's going on. The issue is that the game just has a finite stuff that it offers you. Now, if you really love the gameplay loop, maybe blast through the game and then you can just keep completing these missions to your heart content. If you're the type of player that loves No Man's Sky and you can get, like, I just want to scan packages and walk around and collect resources and do this and just mindless type stuff. If you love the hunting in Red Dead Redemption 21 Kiloton, my buddy, yes, I can see why you might fall in love with this gameplay loop. But if you need a little bit more, meat on the bone, if you can't get sucked into just the same repeated mundane tasks like that over and over again, then I would suggest that this game probably isn't for you. I'm not going to sit here and try to get into a big war with people, and I know people are going to be mad. I'll probably lose a fair amount of subscribers because I know a lot of people love this game, and I totally understand that. But for me, this is not a game that I could ever recommend to anyone to buy. If it's something that interests you, maybe pick it up later on. I will say, from a technical aspect, it runs fine. There's no microtransactions. I know some people are praising it for that. To me, that's how games should launch. So if you don't launch like that, I'll take points off, but I'm not going to hype you up and praise you just because there's no microtransactions. The last 6 or 7 games I played didn't have microtransactions. So I know some people will be like, oh, finally a game without... No, I've played plenty of games this year that didn't have microtransactions. If you look for them, you can find them. But regardless, it should be obvious. My overall feelings on this game, I'm not a fan. At all. And that's really all I have to say. I think I explained all the points I had to get across. If you want to argue with me down in the comments, that's absolutely fine. I am more than willing to have a conversation about this, although I will say the conversation around this game has gotten completely insane and out of control. So try not to storm everything in by calling everyone a simpleton or a moron if they didn't like the game, or as I've seen many, many times, just outright, have you even played the game? You know how many times I've seen people say, have you played the game? I think this game in 2 weeks has set the record for most people having said, did you even play it? Do you even play it, bro? Because the fan base around this game, I have got to say, you guys need to tone it down. Especially in a game where the only message about it is trying to connect people. People are being more divisive than ever, and I see more animosity and vitriol coming from the fans of this game than the people who don't like the game. I know there's people out there that are being jerks and directing a lot of hate towards the game, but the people defending it are being so unbelievably smug and arrogant about it. I've never seen a game have such a superiority complex develop among its player base in just 2 weeks' time. Not even 2 weeks, the day I'm recording this. Guys, tone it down. It's alright if someone doesn't like this game. It doesn't make them stupid or impatient or a bad person or lacking compassion. Get off your high horse. It's okay. We'll be waiting for you when you decide to get down. Anyway, that's it for me, Coach Toolshed. Feel free to argue with me down in the comments below. Please subscribe if you want to stay in tune with the channel head forward. And as always, keep it turned to 11.